Billy, I see that Paul's in practice. Is he going to be available for the trip?
Yeah, he'll be playing tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else going to be out as of now, going into tomorrow?
Nader's still out. We'll find out. Again, it's kind of just seeing how he's feeling, and the medical staff's making a decision on that. He didn't do anything today, so they're still resting him. Alex was back. He seemed like he responded pretty well yesterday. He wanted to keep his minutes down just because he's missed, quite a bit of that first week of training camp. And obviously Russell, Andre are still going to be out as well.
What have you thought of Tim's minutes so far? He's missed some threes, but seemed like good looks. And then there were a few times it looked like in the pick and roll with him and Steven, there were a couple maybe miscommunications.
I think he's still learning, Tim. I think the biggest thing for him is he's got really good length and size. It's getting him back involved, from a defensive rebounding perspective is important. It's like one of those things offensively. He was really close to having a really good game. Just the ball didn't go in the basket, but he made a couple of nice plays. I did think that, he could probably clean up some of the passing. I think and that's kind of probably him getting on and having communication with Steven when they're in those situations. A couple other passes, but he was close to having a good game. I thought in that third quarter he got some really good looks. We found him, and the ball just didn't go in. That's part of it. But I think the other things that I've just mentioned, I think he can control.
Do you like the number of shots you got in the paint? Obviously, you didn't shoot a high percentage. But did you like the fact that you were around the rim?
Yeah, we got in the paint. I thought we played downhill at the basket. Steven did a really good job of offensive rebounding. I think we can make some better decisions than we did. I thought we had some opportunities to spray the ball to different areas of the floor that we just missed. And I know these guys are making split-second decisions, but just having the awareness of where help is coming from. But for the most part, I thought we generated pretty good shots. I thought in the third quarter we didn't move with the same pace and tempo that we did in that first half.
Just kind of piggybacking off of what Matt said, when it comes to Jeremy and his ability to get to the rim, he had some shots that he just missed at the rim last night. He seemed like he was pretty conscious of that. Did you like what you saw from him in terms of being able to get there?
He got in there. I think the biggest thing with Jeremy is always his balance. When he gets in there, he's on balance, and he's really able to use his athleticism. That's where he's most effective. He played downhill, and again, he was another guy offensively that got to. He had that really great move. He drove it, and I think Pachulia was the basket, and he kind of went to finger roll it, and he just fell up a little bit short. He had a couple drives that he had missed. One, he made a kind of a nice move. It looked like he was a little bit off balance. He tried to reverse layup, but he was at the rim, and to be honest with you, we missed a lot of shots around the basket. That's just the reality of it. Dennis had some. Nerlens missed 4 dunks on putbacks and some other ones around the basket. Jeremy missed some drives. Hami had a drive he missed. So we missed a lot of layups around the basket and didn't finish particularly well. So that's something we've got to do a better job of.
I know that you're focused on your team, and as most coaches are in the NBA, but when you look at situations like what Minnesota's going through right now with Jimmy Butler, or like what the San Antonio Spurs went through this summer with Kawhi, does that make you kind of be introspective and think like, we've got a pretty good situation going on here?
Yeah, you never know what goes on in any of this situation. Everybody, I think, is always dealing with everybody's job. There's always challenges in everybody's job. There's challenges in the player's job, the coach's job, the front office jobs, everywhere. Everybody's got challenges. So, I think one, it's, how you handle those challenges, and two, what you're grateful for and what you're appreciative of. And, we've got a great group of guys as it relates to people and being able to communicate and talk and have open conversations and dialogue. I don't know what those situations were like in those two places, but there's maybe challenges we have here that they don't have, and we probably have what they don't have. But the Butler and Kawhi situation, it's hard for me to respond to it just because I'm not there. I don't know everything that's going on. I know that I'm appreciative of, to your point, obviously. There's some form of communication going on there. What it's like, I'm not sure. But I think here, the one thing I'm appreciative of is the communication, how good the guys are here as people.
Also think of it from a standpoint of, Minnesota's a team that hadn't been in the playoffs for so long, and then they get a guy like Butler, and all of a sudden they're one of the contenders for the playoffs in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Does it do coaches take time to think about like how fleeting that success can be in the NBA?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, we had that situation. You know, I've had it. You know, to your point, a couple times. We had it. You know, when Kevin was here after my first year, and had it with Russell, and then had it with Paul. You know, so I've always been a big believer that, you know, I think just this is my belief. You know, every team has its own identity and its own history of itself. You know, that 1 year together. And you don't know what the future holds, whether it be an injury or someone leaving or not wanting to be here, or player relationships, coach-player. Like, there's so many different things, and you know every single time that you go through a year that chances are the next year it's not going to look exactly the same. There's going to be different pieces coming and going. It's just kind of the way it is. And what you try to do is, okay, you know, like today, I really enjoy being around our guys. I really enjoy working with them. So I need to be grateful and appreciate the time I have today. I can't like worry about what's going to happen in July of this July or 2020 or 2025. Like, I don't know. It's a waste of time. I need to enjoy what I'm at, where I'm at, what I'm doing, and I need to, you know, do the best job I can, myself and our staff, to help these guys. That's kind of the way I look at it. I really don't get around, to be honest, and say, oh, what if this happens, or what if that happens, if this could. I mean, you can play what ifs and hypotheticals all you want, but the reality is tomorrow, here's who's showing up, and, you know, this is what we need to do for the day, you know, to get better.
Speaking of tomorrow, what are some of the goals and objectives you're hoping to?
Well, I think what will be interesting is that, you know, Minnesota's always played a couple games, so we'll have at least a little bit of film on them. This was kind of a, you know, blank canvas for both teams last night. It was each team's first preseason game, so there really was no scouting. You know, we just basically dealt with, you know, the personnel. Weren't sure what they were going to play, how they were going to play, with Coach being new, with Dwayne being new. So it was great. We got put in some situations that we had a chance to learn from and get better from. I think the things that we've tried to focus on in training camp, the guys have done a pretty good job of, and we executed at a fairly high level. There's still things I think we can do better on both ends of the floor, but that's what this is for. So we'll be able to at least inject some scouting to see how much our guys can retain what we're trying to do.
Billy, last night, Dennis and Steven obviously had a really good feel for each other on the floor in such limited time to be able to play. And then in the postgame, Dennis said that the sky's the limit for how those two can, you know, play off each other. What have you been able to see in practice of those two playing off of each other, considering that, you know, Russell's not out on the floor?
Well, I think Russell and Steven have a different connection as it relates to that when they're in screening actions together, because they've done it for so long together, and they've got a good relationship and a close relationship, and they communicate very well. Steven is a guy that I think thrives through the connection of whether it's Paul George coming off his down screen, whether it's Dennis coming off of his screen and pick and roll, whether it's Russell, like, he tries to figure out what's the best way and how effective and efficient he can be when he does screen. So with Steven, I think he and Dennis have been able to, in a short period of time, in a week or so, been able to have those kind of communications and conversations, which I think helps the cohesiveness of, you know, Dennis needs to know how Steven likes to roll, where he likes to catch it, you know, what is he looking to do. Steven needs to understand how Dennis, you know, comes off screens. Like, all those things are conversations that need to take place, and those guys are communicating really, really well to try to figure that out.